Good afternoon, everyone. I am LaShade Scott, President and CEO of Scott Center for Observation, Treatment, and Transition. We are currently experiencing technical difficulties at this time. Just bear with us just a moment as I get Miss Muhammad on the call. So just bear with me just a moment.
I will. Thank you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Yay!
So I
How
just,
are you?
I'm good, and you? I want to make sure I'm saying your first name correct. So could you tell me your first name again?
Tahira.
Tahira. Okay, I wanted to make
Yep.
sure I was saying it right. So, let me go ahead and introduce you to my audience. We know that this is Minority Health Month, and as you guys see,
Yeah,
Miss Tahira Muhammad is multitasking here on a
right.
couple. She is a sickle cell warrior and fighter. Um, she's the COO over Crescent Foundation for Sickle Cell Disease. I don't think I would do justice. I've done what I can, but I think you telling the audience more who you are will be very much more translucent here. Can you go ahead and unmute?
Yep, sure. Thank you for having me again. Thank you for inviting me on your show. I think you do amazing work with both of your organizations. So yes, I'm Tahira Muhammad of Crescent Foundation. We're located in Philadelphia. We serve patients and their families who are impacted by sickle cell disease here in Philadelphia and the surrounding counties. Um, we've only been in existence since 2018. Um, and since then, we've had an enormous trajectory of serving our community and having hospital partners. I also live with sickle cell disease. Um, and as you see right now, like you said, I'm multitasking. I'm actually getting dialysis. And I don't like canceling things, even, I don't like canceling things because I think it's very real that many of us adults are doing things, working, have careers, and this is just our lifestyle. So we get it done, right? So while I'm sitting here, I have a laptop, I'm doing programming, I'm getting things done. I'm sorry for the noise in the background. I grabbed my laptop and forgot my earphones um, coming out this morning. But one of my responsibilities at Crescent Foundation as the chief of operations, I also um, am the project director over all of our programming. And so we have three major programs that support patients here in Philadelphia. One of the well-known ones is our community health worker program, and it's called Crescent Cares. And we have two community health workers, a CHW supervisor, and we serve about 250 patients and their families a year. And that number skyrocketed at the beginning of the pandemic in 20, like, right towards the end of 2019, going into 2020, and we've been moving ever since. Um, so that's our community health worker program. Then we have a educational program. Hold on, let me just mute real quick and get someone.
Yes. As you see, our warriors, they have to battle a couple things, but she's pushing through.
Sorry.
No, you're
So we talked about Crescent Cares. We have One Gene, One Life, which is an immersion program for medical students. We go into med schools, first year med students, and we humanize sickle cell disease, strip down the biases that come with having sickle cell disease, and really get down to like the nitty gritty. And it's also just amazing because medical students don't come with a lot of ego that well established doctors and health professionals do. So you get to hear about all of the amazing ideas they would have if they were working with patients who had sickle cell disease, whether it's in the ED, whether it's about curative therapy. So it's a great program to really push education, awareness, and invite these young people who are getting into medicine to come into sickle cell disease and want to um, support those living with sickle cell disease to have better quality lives. So that's 1G One Life, and then we have our Bridging the Gap program. And Bridging the Gap, we work with the two pediatric hospitals in Philadelphia, CHOP and St. Chris, and we work with their 14 and up young adults who have sickle cell disease, and really just teach them how to adult, and what to look forward to as they get older with living with a chronic illness like sickle cell. Things that are as basic as what does your health insurance mean to you? How do you use it? To things more serious like dating and having sickle cell disease and having those conversations with your peers. So
Yeah,
that's a really great program that we have. And then outside of that, we do a bunch of virtual events and in-person events. And, we really enjoy what we do because we didn't have that growing up. And especially once we became young adults here, there was no community-based organization that really supported our needs.
that's great. That's really great. I didn't mention in your bio that you are a researcher, clinical researcher. So
Yeah.
hearing all these things that you're tied into, how does the clinical research aspect fits in, or what are you doing at the
So
clinical
my undergrad is in biology. My master's is in public health. I came right out of undergrad, like thinking that, all right, we're gonna apply to med school. I'm gonna go to med school, but reality kicks in when you have sickle cell disease, right? So I got really sick, and I had to pivot. And I had a lot of experience as an intern undergrad doing research for CHOP, and so one of my mentors found out that I was looking for a position and was really to really jumpstart my career. And I went into psychosocial research and working for the Sickle Cell Center. And I've been there ever since. One of the main things that we tend to work on is different coping mechanisms for children, adolescent age children who have sickle cell disease and their parents, especially those who are newly diagnosed as parents. And so enrolling them into some of our psychosocial protocols at CHOP has been wonderful. I'm usually one of the researchers who help with retention and keeping them in the study. Um, and that just deals and what we've noticed is when they're talking to a person who also can empathize with them and who also lives with sickle cell disease, they tend to react differently and are willing to stay through the study. And so I was definitely a hire that was on purpose, because I had the science background, but then also I live with sickle cell disease, so I had to live this experience as well.
Right, right. And honestly, that's the best way to kind of get patients to have that trust within the healthcare
Yep,
system, to be honest. So
exactly.
I think what you're doing is amazing.
Thank you.
So I kind of want to shift the conversation a little bit. As you
Of
know,
course.
as the audience know, this our conversations are pretty candid. They're not scripted. So just hearing some of the things that you're saying. So you mentioned something in regards to dating. We know that you have children, correct? Or I know that
Yep.
you have children.
Yeah.
Um,
So yes, I have a daughter.
yes. So I know a lot of doctors will tell patients that they shouldn't have children.
Hmm.
Um, or they shouldn't say that, but they do. Some do say that.
Yes.
So
Yep.
with that being said, how has parenthood been for you living with sickle cell disease?
Amazing. I wouldn't trade being a mother for anything. I feel like out of all the things that I do that are that I feel like a lot of things that I do overlap each other. But the one thing about motherhood is it stands alone, and it's the most important job that I have. Um, it's what keeps me grounded. But I can say that I had a wonderful pregnancy, but after my pregnancy is when I had issues that came about from having sickle cell disease. Well, not particularly from having sickle cell disease, but from not getting the care that I should have had with living with sickle cell disease. So after I had my daughter in 2016, I developed that went undiagnosed for about 2 years, postpartum eclampsia,
Mhm.
and that went undiagnosed for 2 years. By the time I started realizing what was going on, I was holding on to a lot of fluid onto my body. And when I had my daughter as an infant, I would go to my follow ups with my OB. They would just tell me, oh, that was normal because I had a C section and things like that. 2 years later, I was just so frustrated. Like, this can't be normal. Like, this baby's walking, talking, and you mean to tell me I should still be holding on to fluid in my body? And people couldn't see it because I was slim. So when I'm complaining about, like, I got fluid on my legs, they're like, oh, but you're skinny. I'm like, but I shouldn't have fluid on the bottom, on my lower extremities. So I literally, I researched nephrologists in Philadelphia myself first, and I went through the whole gamut. I went through black nephrologists, black women nephrologists, then I went through nephrologists who have experience with sickle cell disease, and I found a nephrologist at Penn Medicine. And when I got to her, she was amazing, but she was straightforward, and she told me, I went through your chart. I did a chart review, and you had been spilling protein in your urine since the day after I gave birth to my daughter, and nobody ever knew. So she diagnosed me with I was at stage 2 chronic kidney disease due to postpartum eclampsia. All of my blood pressures were sky high, and it was written in my chart. Um, Now my daughter is 6. 6 years later, I'm at end stage renal. So I am on a transplant list. I need a kidney. I'm O positive, so I can only receive a kidney from someone who is O positive or O negative. And right now, to sustain my lifestyle, I do dialysis 3 times a week. Um, does it stop me from my career, running an organization, being a mother? Absolutely not. Is it hard? Yes, it is. It takes about 4 hours, 3 times a week, and when I'm done, I'm wiped out. So thank God I have the support system, the family members, the friends that I do, because at this age, for my daughter, she's 6 years old. She definitely understands what life is like for me as her mom, living with sickle cell disease. I have a amazing husband, so the things that I used to do, like cook every day, that's not my responsibility anymore. So it's helpful to have that support, but I do dream and pray of a day where this is not my lifestyle anymore. I can get back to really being the active mother that I'm used to being.
Yeah, one of our viewers said, was the overlooking your condition due to the ignorance of racial biases?"
Definitely. And they kept pushing. So leading up to my labor, I wanted to, push. And they kept trying to keep me from pushing, um, giving me excuses of, oh, we don't want you to push because something might happen. And then they convinced me to do a scheduled C-section. Um, and instead of just having well-rounded comprehensive care, I feel like the only thing that they worried about was my sickle cell disease and my hemoglobin, and not really paying attention to my blood pressure, especially my blood pressure, and just doing labs throughout my like after labor when I was there in the hospital. And so definitely racial bias was there. Why didn't I pursue like suing the institution? One, I was diagnosed after 3 years, well, 2.5 to 3 years. No one would take my case.
Mm.
Two, and three, with a career like mine, being connected with these hospital institutions in Philadelphia, it's like I have to go to the same place to care for me, and now I'm about to sue them as well. So how can we, figure this out, medical team with patient, um, and not have to go that route where I may even get worse care now because I have a lawsuit. And this is the only sickle cell center that gives me good care in that manner. Now the labor and delivery team is the one who did not give me the good care. So we had like all of those decisions to make, and we discussed them, my family and I, my medical team, and it was just best to move forward, in a more positive way, um, and that's what we did.
It's so unfortunate that you even have to think in that mind space, right?
You
Um,
telling?
Even if you didn't have sickle cell disease, I feel, especially with this being Minority Health Month, I think it's important for me to express how our health gets overlooked
All
anyway.
the time. Anyway,
You know,
minority what a month, Black Maternal Health Week. I
yep,
mean, you right? You have
yep,
a stew of disaster for those who look like us all the time in these institutions.
yeah. And it's really unfortunate because now, you know, not only are you battling, having to live a healthy life with sickle cell, now you're having to battle this, you know,
Yeah,
kidney disease now. Um, and I'm sorry that you're going through this, but I know I know that you are a fighter, but it's just
definitely.
so unfortunate that you have so many hats that you have to, still continue to put on this face, not only for yourself, your husband, your daughter, but there's the other kids that you're helping
Right.
in
For
these
the
in
community. Yeah.
yes. So
Yeah.
there is a lot on your plate, but you are doing it gracefully, and I commend you on all levels.
Thank you.
How you're moving forward, and the fact that you're doing such great work, and my audience is able to hear some of the things that your organization is doing.
Yeah.
It's just another resource that may be beneficial for someone who's watching today.
Absolutely. We've definitely acquired referrals from people who are not in Pennsylvania, not in Philadelphia, but we were able to support them. We were able to help them. I remember we had someone from Tennessee called us, and they were in prison living with sickle cell disease, and the wife was trying to figure out how could she advocate for him locally. We were a big help with connecting her to the resources and the legal resources that she needed.
Yeah, yeah. So what's next for you? Like, what do you see yourself doing next? Because you got your hands in a lot of things too. So
Definitely.
what do you see yourself doing next?
Getting a kidney.
I'm praying for that for sure.
So right now my family, my friends are developing a campaign to, get me a kidney fast, because on the list for a deceased donor is 6 to 8 years just because of my blood type, because I'm quote unquote a rare blood type, and I can only receive O, right? O positive or O negative. So that's like priority for me. And then really building up Crescent's programming. I feel like my life overlaps in so many different areas, especially because I'm also Muslim. And so in Philadelphia, there are 300,000 Muslims living here, and there's a big community of Muslims living with sickle cell disease, and we serve that population. But one of the big issues is, courtship or dating, and marriage, right? And how do they navigate that while living with sickle cell disease? Their family members pushing young adults to be married, and is a lack of education just in that demographic. So definitely doing a lot more work in that area. Um, I have some mentors, really, I would say, mentoring me in going towards pharma. And maybe, but I will only go that route once I step down as an officer for Crescent. I think that would be just too much to juggle. And then outside of that, my family is always priority on the list as well. My daughter's 6; she's in the first grade, so making sure that she gets what she needs from me, um, as a mom, and then just education wise, that she has what she needs. Anything outside of that is just I don't have the time right now. I'm doing a lot, and I think the things that I'm doing even now are really huge projects. And so that's what I want to keep the focus on. I think Crescent is in a great path right now, with serving our city and our surrounding counties. I would love for us to get more national and international, but those things take time.
Yeah.
And we're a baby organization, so I'm really proud of the work that we've done, even in this short time, and how present and supportive that we've been in our community, especially throughout the pandemic. It was really hard for a lot of people, and I feel like that we were there, we were really present.
Yeah. Yeah. So, how can I support you? You know,
Hmm. I think that's a great question. I think on a personal level, you can support me by just sharing any information about my kidney transplant journey and trying to get a kidney. I think as an organization, you can support us um, by just sharing the things that we do. Our social media page on Instagram is where we put a lot of our information, our upcoming events, um, but letting people know that organizations like ours, who have Black founders, who are small, who receive whose funding is a lot of grants, small grants that we put together to support the community. We need donations from our community. We need for funders, whether especially private funders, in order to sustain. What happens a lot is you have organizations like ours, they come about, we're getting grants, and then 15 years later, those organizations don't exist anymore
mhm,
because the grants don't exist anymore. The funding doesn't exist anymore. So the support for the community doesn't exist anymore, and the hospitals can only do so much. You don't want to go to medical teams where um, they have to focus on the clinical aspect of sickle cell disease, and then also social determinants of health, all of those things that come along with being a human, housing insecurities, food insecurities, because when they have to do all of that juggling, you don't get great care. You definitely
right.
don't get comprehensive care. So you want to be able to support community-based organizations like ours, so that way we can keep doing the wonderful work that we're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. So, an audience member said this is inspiring. Thank you for your great work. Absolutely. I
Thank
shared, um, here is Crescent Foundation SCD on Instagram. Please go follow. Please go follow. And also, I know you've mentioned it a couple times on the talk here, but I want you to tell my audience about
Yeah,
how they can
so
donate, or how they can go about donate if they choose to
right.
donate a kidney to you.
So there's a link for the National Kidney Registry. Everyone who's on the transplant list has an individual, basically website link. People go there, and they'll put the information in. If you're looking to, just find out more, or even, want to donate, you're going to put in my first and last name, Tahirah Austin. Don't put in Muhammad, because that's my married name, and it's not through the registry. And I think what would be easier, Lasharde, is if I can I send you the because it's
Yep.
really like a little card, um, and I can send you over that, because the link is not long, but it's very like randoms, like WZ and all of these letters. So I would rather people see it,
Yeah.
and then they can go to it. Yeah.
Yep. So once she sends it to me, I'll add it to the video, or when you click the video, the link will be there. So they'll have
Yeah.
access to the link for sure. I will make sure that. I just want to make sure that we support you here at Scott in any
Thank you
way that
so
we
much.
can. I appreciate you coming on. Just to share your story, share
Thank
the
you.
things that you're
Yeah.
doing in the community. I remember meeting you at the convention in
Yep.
2019, and I gotta talk to her because I knew that you were doing great work, and the things
Thank
that I see that you're doing and the impact that you've made in such a short amount of time with Crescent,
you. Yeah.
I just think is remarkable. Is
Thank you.
so
Same.
before before we close out, I guess I want the audience to give us some takeaways, give us some words of affirmation. I know who you are. They
Yeah.
don't know who you so I
I,
know
I
that you
think
can give us words here.
I think what's important, especially for those living with sickle cell disease, and it may sound so cliche, but in a world where there's so much negativity, and sometimes it's not even intentional. People just don't know what to say to you, right? And I feel like you really have to speak positivity over yourself. You have to continuously tell yourself you can do this. You have to continuously tell yourself, I will do this. I think I've come so far. Not I think, I know I've come so far because that's all I've ever done all of my life. And I think a lot of it's part of my personality and my character. But I was like 13 years old telling my dad I'm going to work in that building one day. And I was talking about the research building here at CHOP. And I did it, right? And I told him I was going to major in biology. And I did it. And that's really how you got to push yourself. I was doing hot work in a hospital, right? It's nonstop for me. I'm never letting up. And I think more people should be that gung ho about their life because when you have that type of control over your life, the things that other people say, the negativity that medical teams put on you, it just rolls off. It's like
Yeah,
whatever, right? So I want people to understand that speak positive words over yourself all the time. When you're by yourself, when you're in the shower, right? And those type of things get you through the hard times, right? And sometimes you're gonna cry and you're gonna keep pushing, right? I've done it. I've been crying and I still worked. Right? You won't get around working hard and speaking over yourself.
yeah, yep, I agree. I say this every talk. Each talk has been so different. They all been centered around sickle cell, but
Wonderful.
everybody's journey is so different.
Yeah.
Everybody has something different that they can bring to the table. Um, I mean, I've been doing this since March. These particular conversations, and
Yeah. The
each time
series.
I'm listening, I'm hearing something different. I'm learning from you guys,
Mm,
um, because I'm not a sickle cell warrior, but the things that you guys bring to these conversations make me think outside of the box, or how I can
mm,
see, or what's needed for me to bring into my organization so that
right.
we can, you talked about bridging gaps. I'm trying to figure it out over on this end so that we
Yeah.
can make sure that everybody is, working collectively or collaboratively to make sure that
Yeah.
some of these things do not continue to go on in the future.
Exactly. I think what people need to understand is that no one who has sickle cell disease is the same as another person, right? And we have a gamut of just wonderful things about us. Um, I remember like just growing up, and it was always made to seem like it was a death sentence. Yes, people die of sickle cell disease, and they shouldn't be dying in 2023 of certain complications with living with sickle cell disease. However, we got lawyers, actors, musicians, whatever you can think of, we got it living with sickle cell disease, and that should always be front and center for those who are younger who have sickle cell disease, so they can always be inspired to
Yes.
reach higher. You can do it, whatever you. And I hate cliche stuff, but it's the truth. You can do it if you set your mind to it. You work hard, you can do it.
Yeah. I think it goes back to what I stated a couple weeks ago, empowerment. We have to continue to empower our warriors too, and that
Hmm.
starts at a relatively young age as well.
It does.
I speak that into my children, the ones with
Oh,
sickle cell, the ones without. I speak it into them because that can create that's a game changer within itself.
it
You
is. Right? They
know,
go to school so confident. My
yes,
every report card progress, and she's only in the first grade. Her teachers are like blown away about my daughter's confidence. But that's because since she came out the womb, that's all I did to her. You
yep,
can do it. Go ahead, crawl. You can do it. Get up,
yep,
walk. Right? And I think if more parents did that, and still be there when they fall down, we'll have a whole bunch of black children, with that type of confidence. And that's what we want for our communities, because then nobody can push them around, tell them that they can't do this. They're gonna always show out.
yep, yep. So I do think we stated it starts from home, having that support system,
Yep.
people, positive people around you who are going to inspire you, encourage
Yep.
you, good, bad, or indifferent. That's what you want. You want somebody that's gonna, uphold these things. Let's see. We got
Exactly.
with everything you are doing, this is a question from the audience. With everything you're doing, how do you stay on top of your sickle cell, like dressing for the weather and taking care of yourself?
So to be quite honest, I have sickle cell disease SS. I don't get sick a lot from my sickle cell. Um, I mean, I just do it. Like it's not a to me right. I'm 36. Sickle cell is part of my lifestyle. Right when I was a teenager, and in my early 20s, and I wanted to party, and I'll be outside with a little cute jacket. It showed me I could not be outside with a little cute jacket because I would end up in the hospital. So now, as 36, I dress warm. I don't want to be in the hospital. A week in the hospital is like a month setback for me, because when I'm in there, I don't remember conversations. I gotta catch up with everything. I don't that To me, that's not a lifestyle that I want to live. So right now in Philadelphia, it's 70 degrees. Everybody else got on short sleeve. I got on a hoodie and a jacket. Right? It's just that simple. It's part of my lifestyle. Right? In order to stay out the hospital, I eat healthy. Of course, I indulge sometimes, but I don't overdo it. Right? I know I need to hydrate. I got my water with me. Right? And I think for many of us, especially when you're younger, you're gonna go through that period of I want to do what my friends do because it looks fun, but you're going to quickly, excuse my language, be put on your ass, right? And you have to understand, when you get to really adulthood, you don't want to have that lifestyle of in and out the hospital, especially for preventive things like dressing for the weather, right? It's cold outside. Put on what you need to put on for yourself, right? Shouldn't no one at the same another adult have to tell you that, when you know that. As a child, as a teenager, of course, we hard headed. You want to do what you want to do, and forget about the college lifestyle. I've lived that, and it wasn't good. It showed me I can't drink alcohol, right? I'm going to be dehydrated, and I'm going to be in pain. And so, now at this stage, it's just part of my lifestyle. It's not something that anyone has to remind me of. That's not a conversation that anyone needs to have with me, because I know what to do. um,
Yeah,
and that's just preventative care to me.
yeah, yeah. Those are all good concerns
Yeah.
or things we need to be mindful of. So I learned something here, especially with the alcohol. Uh,
Yes. Alcohol dehydrate you, y'all. Just don't do it.
yes,
And if you smoke, sometimes smoking causes acute chest syndrome. So put it in the edible. So you want to do things that is preventative, and you don't want anyone to always ask you, well, what was you doing? What did you do? Because a lot of times with sickle cell disease and a crisis, you didn't do anything, right? It just happened. But then there's some times when it's like, you you wasn't dressing right. You weren't eating right. You've been smoking all week. What's up? Um, and these are just conversations that we've had to have with our young adults, so they can live a better quality life and they can live long.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Um, I really don't think people really understand just like just the basics of the things that you
Yeah.
guys have to be mindful of
Yep.
every day. It's not every couple of days, it's every
Every
single
day.
day.
Every
Um,
day.
and that's why I say sickle cell patients are some of the strongest people I've ever met.
We are. Thank you. I
You
appreciate
guys endure so much. I mean, I'm sitting over here with a cold right now. And that's why I don't complain because it's like you have to deal with stuff every day, all day.
it.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
to define you, and I hope I'm not offending you by saying these things.
No, no, not at all.
I do feel that we have to be more conscious in our community on the health disparities that impact us by large numbers. And this is why I host this talk because I feel that
Right.
we lose sight of what's truly important in our own community. And this is no shade to no other community. I just think we need to start taking back our community and putting that information out there so that people are not ignorant on the fact of what sickle cell is, how it impacts our household,
Yep.
and the other things that come with it, you know, or what could potentially come along the way. We
Definitely. Yep.
audience and I have witnessed you sitting in that chair for dialysis and you
Mm.
sitting here holding a conversation. You cannot tell me that's not strength. You cannot tell me that, you know, you are pushing through a lot of things, but still trying to make sure that this community understands what's needed.
Yes. Yes. It's
So
priority for me. It is priority.
I want to give you your flowers while you're here.
I
You know,
accept them. Thank you so much, sis.
I
Thank
thank you.
you.
I really, really thank you. Is there anything you want to tell the audience before we, say
Oh,
our
thank you. You all asked some really great questions. And I love good questions from the audience, because it gives you a chance to delve deeper, and bring up things that you probably hadn't thought about or that you haven't said. So thank you, for those questions, and just thank you for having me. You know, I think, during series like this and conversations like this are much needed. They should continue. Um, and you just continue being the beautiful you that you are, doing all of this amazing work. Um, and that's it, really. No.
thank you. Thank you. One of our audience members says she is very motivating. This is awesome.
Oh,
Yes, she
thank
is
you.
very motivating. Very motivating.
Thank
You enjoy Miss Tahirah Muhammad, then you'll definitely enjoy our talk this Friday with Ohio Senator Paula Hicks Hudson, my mentor, Annie J. Ross Womack. If you don't know her, you gonna know her. And and another warrior, Heather Avant. They will all be on the talk this Friday at 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. There's still some comments coming through. Here we go. Tier, you are awesome. I'm sure you already know that, but I wanted to tell you anyway.
thank you so much, Rashad. I appreciate it, and thank you for your questions as well.
Yes. So I will see you off this Friday, April 21st, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can subscribe to the YouTube channel, Scott Center OH, or you can follow us on Facebook, Scott Center for Observation, Treatment, and Transition. And once again, if you want to follow Miss Tahirah Muhammad, she is at Crescent Foundation SCD.
Yep, and
Oh,
you can also learn more about our organization, at www, of course, crescentfoundationscd.org. So very
yes.
easy.
Yes. So
Thank you
I
for
thank you
having me. Of
for joining. Thank you. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy day
course.
to come sit on my little show. But I appreciate you.
Big. It's big. It's big for our community, right?
Yeah.
The work you're doing is big. It's important. So
Yes. Well, you take care of yourself. I will be reaching out to you later this week to make see how
Yes.
you doing, okay? And send
Thank
me
you
the
so much. I
send,
sure will. I'll send you the card and the link.
all
Have a
right.
great day, everyone. Bye.
You too.